A boxing podcast where the punches never stop and the excitement is always ringside. Get ready to step into the world of boxing like never before. Join us as we dive deep into the stories, strategies, and showdowns that make boxing the ultimate sport of champions. From knockout interviews with legendary fighters to ringside roundups of the biggest matchups, we've got you covered with expert analysis and insider insights. So lace up your gloves, grab a ringside seat, and get ready to experience the thrill of the fight. This is the 10-8 Podcast. Yo, what's the deal? What's the deal? It's your boy Norza. We are live. This is the 10-8 Podcast. Returning from a couple days. I was out doing my ting. What's the word though? Yeah, I'm over here trying to figure out why the hell I can't see my damn pod live right now, but we gonna get into it. Let me bring in my man. First, let me introduce the legend. Before there was Daredevil in the Low East, so not in the Low East Side, in Hell's Kitchen. There was my main man, Marco. Marco, what's good?
What's popping?
We need to give like a real cool name, dude. Like, the Daredevil's Hell's Kitchen, right? Like, you can literally be that, Marco. Like, you can pass that off.
I don't know. When I was coming up, ain't nobody really talked about the Daredevil. That's I don't know. For some reason, I didn't even know till recently. Not recently, but growing up, I didn't even know that the Daredevil was from Hell's Kitchen.
Are you serious? The Daredevil from Hell's Kitchen?
That's more of like a thing that people, I think, that aren't from there know about. I don't know. Really? Because, Daredevil was what, 50s, 60s? Like, when did that come out?
I don't know. I mean, I was born in the 80s, so to be honest with you, I don't know when the hell that was. But I love the Daredevil. I'm not going to say and lie to you. Like, that's my guy.
Remind me, you're from Brooklyn?
Brooklyn. I was born and raised in Bensonhurst. There was a lot of like Polish.
Right. We talk about Italians,
stuff like that. So that's where I grew up. But
you're Puerto Rican, right?
Yeah, Puerto Rican. But
Puerto Rican and Bensonhurst. So
Benson. I was the only Puerto Rican actually living out there, which was kind of crazy.
I bet you were.
And like this is like when segregation ended in like 65. So like everybody was still alive at that era, where it was kind of like still racist, but it was cool. It taught me a lot about life, to be honest with you.
I got you.
Ash, what up, Ash? But yeah, man, you know what's crazy? I was watching the fights this week, and I didn't get to catch up yesterday and do anything. So I was like, yo, let me get my man Marco. I want to know his insight on the fights. I seen you were breaking down the Roelly knockout from and you know what?
I'm working on the TSYZU one now. I'm gonna have that one out today.
Let's start off with Roelly before we get into TSYZU. So the Roelly situation to me was it was sad for Roelly, right? Because throughout the years, most people, at least I know, I've come out and said Roelly doesn't, he shouldn't be there. He doesn't belong. You know what I mean? He's a product of being under Mayweather and getting a big fight with Gervonta, and he's an excellent, media source. And I think Isaac Cruz like pretty much exposed every single aspect of it then, and he looked like he didn't belong at all. And my big concern with Roelly is when somebody loses in that magnitude, in that fashion, you rarely see them return. And he's young. What is he, like 25?
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with that. You rarely see them return. A lot of people get knocked out and come back.
No, I've seen people get knocked out. That wasn't getting knocked out, Marco. That was literally like he was destroyed. Like it was on a whole nother level.
I've seen worse, man. I mean, you're right. It was bad, but I've seen worse.
You've seen worse on a pay-per-view stage and stuff like. I mean, Errol Spence fought back.
Floyd Mayweather versus Arturo Gatti.
What happened to after that?
He still came back. I mean, but he got beat way worse. I mean, but that's also one of the biggest beatings you'll ever see. If anybody ever wants to watch a vicious but beautiful display of boxing, watch Floyd versus Gatti or Roy Jones versus Vinny Pazienza. Both were just the highest level of skill, but they were just kicking the shit out of those dudes.
But Roelly never really had a big win. My girl Ashley, she's a big boxing fan. She says Cruz exposed and walked Roelly down the whole fight. It was bad from the onset.
He never
Yeah.
had a big win. He's gotten himself where he is from his
Yeah.
his
And that's the thing. How is he going to recover from that? How are you going to talk a big game after what just happened to you at 140 against Cruz? Like, it was bad.
Well, I think Roelly might have one more fight left in him that people are going to watch, and that's after Ryan most likely loses to Devin. Maybe Roelly and Ryan fight, and then that'll be the last fight that I think people would tune in for Roelly. And then Roelly's kind of, because you can only go so far with antics and out of the ring stuff, right? But then eventually, if your skill isn't backing it up, people just
no. And listen, Pitbull really exposed him bad. Like, it was like the power that Roelly possessed didn't even like come into play. He just literally from the onset was on him. Caught him, I think, with a left hook early, wobbled him back. And I almost feel like once you get knocked down or knocked out in a fight, I don't know, maybe you're the boxer. You boxed on it. Does it seem like you become more susceptible to getting knocked out after that?
I've never been knocked out, so I don't know. And I've only been down once in sparring when I was like 15. But it all depends on the fighter. Some guys can go down, they don't care, it makes them fight harder. Some people go down and it messes with them mentally. It all depends on the fighter. He looked instantly like he knew he was outclassed. Like, I mean, the second that first counter shot landed, that wobbled him, he was done.
Yeah. And bro, he came down from like 190, he said. He said, if you watch an interview, when they first announced the fight, he said he was walking around at 190. That's what he said.
Well, that's goofy.
It's insane.
That's true. Yeah.
Look at it. He said it on it was on the press conference when he first announced the fight.
I believe
he was talking about matter of fact, Pitbull looked fat as hell. He was making fun of Pitbull, and he said, "What do you think? What are you weighing?" He said, "I'm weighing about 190." And I was like, "What?" That's what he said.
He also says stuff though sometimes,
Yeah, I mean, I like Roelly. I think Roelly's good for the sport, but he's not a great fighter. He just isn't. I think he's going to be good as an announcer and maybe as a podcaster. But I really don't see, and I actually doesn't agree with you with the Ryan Garcia fight. I think that would be good for the media. I just don't even think people will believe he can beat Ryan. I mean, I think Ryan's actually going to put up a better fight than most believe against them.
Ryan's a better fighter. Ryan is actually a good fighter. Yeah. Roelly is medium to he's like a middle class to lower middle class fighter, whereas Ryan's like an upper middle fighter at least.
I mean, you don't win 15 national championships as an amateur. You don't.
Right.
I think more so the difference between Roelly and Ryan is, I think Ryan has a skill set, but his mindset is off. Like, I don't think his mindset's there. I never thought Roelly had the talent that Ryan has. I don't even think it's close. And I think Ryan knocks Roelly out in the fight, to be honest with you.
Possible.
But it showed me a lot about what your mouth can get you in boxing and relationships. And I think that's what happened with Roelly. What did you you did a breakdown of the Roelly and Ryan fight. What did you see? Can you break it down for us?
Which fight?
The Roelly and Pitbull, I'm sorry.
Oh. Well, I mean, those of you watching could check my shorts and my channel. It's there, but I'll break it down too. He basically first of all, the second the bell sounded, Pitbull threw a combination. It might have been the first one he threw, and you saw one of those shots whiz by Roelly. It missed him, but it whizzed by, and you heard the crowd like, ooh, because you saw how hard he was coming. Pause. I guess the young kids would say pause.
No Diddy. We do no Diddy now. It's no Diddy.
Now it's no Diddy? Okay,
no Diddy. Okay.
No Diddy. So you saw how hard the punches were coming. And then Pitbull does a thing where he has a high guard, right? Up here. It's real tight too. So the only thing that works with that, and Roelly did a couple times, when a high guard like that, this is covered. Now, don't forget, Pitbull is a little dude.
He's a little guy, yeah.
So the gloves are covering more of a circumference. If you see, it doesn't look like he's getting more covered when he does this than most people, because he's a smaller dude and the gloves are bigger. So the only thing you can go is straight down the middle. It's the only possible opening. But what this does when you put your hands up is it lets your opponent think, oh, you're in defensive mode. You're not going to throw. Let me throw at you. So he goes like this, walks forward, and to his defense, 9 times out of 10, if somebody's like this, you can tee off on them, and they're going to kind of wait for you to finish, and then they'll throw back. But what he did was he waited for Roelly to throw, and the second Roelly's punch bounced off this glove, Pitbull hit him.
Yeah.
And that's the first shot that clipped him and that made him wobble. And that was all it took, because then Roelly knew, oh, this guy hits hard.
Yeah, he got his bike. Yeah.
I'm in trouble. And he knew I can't do, Roelly's big with doing the like, those weird noises he makes and throwing shots when somebody's sitting there stationary.
Yeah.
But when somebody's either moving or countering him, he was left to his devices just to box, but he couldn't really do that effectively. So all we saw was him circling, trying to explode a couple, but then getting Pitbull was doing a very classic cross body, which means you go down on the body first, opponent drops their hands, and you come up top. It was very boxing 101 that he beat him with, but he had the power and the aggression to do it, and that's a big factor.
Now, how big of a loss do you think it is for Roelly? Do you believe Roelly can bounce back? You did say you believe he'll get another fight with Ryan Garcia, right?
I said he might. Anybody could bounce back. Anybody could bounce back, but you're asking me Roelly specifically?
Yeah,
probably not. I'm not saying he's done forever or whatever, but I don't think. So this was a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
So he might get his next fight. If it's against Ryan, okay, but he might get his next fight on like ESPN or DAZN or something.
Yeah.
But if he loses that one, then he's on Nickelodeon fighting or something. You know what I mean? Like nobody wants to see it at that point.
It was very concerning to me after the fight. They asked him, did he underestimate?
Let me mention that too. So that was Caleb Plant's wife interviewing. Did you know that?
Oh, she did a good job. I liked it. I didn't know that.
Well, I didn't really agree that she did a good job. I thought she was being, and don't get me wrong, Roelly talks a lot of shit, but she was being kind of disrespectful.
You think
like
so?
She was like, oh, you weren't going to get hit, but you got hit a lot. You got knocked out here in front of everybody. I know you were saying you're going to win, but clearly you didn't. How do you feel?
Condescending. Okay.
It was definitely unprofessional. I don't know if it was and her husband's a fighter. Like, why would you talk like that to a fighter when you know what they go through? How would you like it if someone went up to plan after Canelo knocked him out? I was like, oh, you said you were going to win, but look, you were on the floor staring up at the lights.
Yeah. The question I caught, because I didn't catch the whole interview. I caught when she asked him, she was like, did you underestimate him? And he kind of like froze. Like he was just kind of like out of it.
So the question there is the way she said it, because right off the bat, he goes, I trained hard. She goes, I didn't say you didn't train hard. Like she said something too.
Oh, okay.
So the question is, was he still dazed from the punches, which in his eyes, he looked like he was?
Oh, he was out. Mm-hmm.
Or was it a mix of that and he didn't know how to respond to her being like embarrassing him? She basically embarrassed him.
Well,
like
I didn't catch the whole thing. Yeah, I didn't know that.
She did it on the down low. It wasn't blatant, but watch it. You'll see. There was definitely hints of embarrassment. And as a journalist, as a on air personality, you want to make them feel comfortable. You know what I'm saying? Like you could ask the tough questions, but there was no need for tough questions here. It was like, okay, you just got knocked out. It's like you could say like, so it didn't go your way. What do you think you did wrong, or what went? You could say stuff like that, but not like you were talking all that shit and then you ended up.
Yeah, I get it. See, I didn't catch the whole thing. I just caught the clip when she asked him, did he underestimate him? And he was lost. Like he was completely out of it. It scared me, his mental state, to the point where he was just like, Happy Easter. That's the only thing that came to his mind. And I know a lot of people laughed about it and stuff like that. I personally like Roelly. I think Roelly's really entertaining. I don't think he's a great fighter, but I think he's great for the sport, right? But he seemed really like, it looked like almost at that point, he was like, yeah, I'll be back. I don't think he believed he would actually be back. I think he believes that it's over. And he kind of struggled to get into this fight as well. I've heard, to get back in the ring after the Javante thing, and then he fought, I forgot his name. I don't know, man. Like, I just think Roelly at this point, and I would be shocked if he fights 2 more fights. I think he takes one, and then I think he goes into like, a podcast or something like that, which I think Roelly could do. But as a fighter, fighting at the level he's trying to fight, I don't believe he can beat anybody.
I don't think he's going to be good at a podcast. I mean, this is my space, your space too.
Yeah.
And, you need a certain personality, and he doesn't speak very well. Like, yeah, he says funny things, but it's like the lowest level of like, oh, Tank's little arms, my dick is bigger than your arms. Like, that's mad low level.
Yeah, I get it.
What I mean? Like, he might make a couple morons laugh, but I don't see him. I've had some interactions with Roelly personally, and he's kind of douchey.
Really?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, not like blatant, but no, kind of blatant. Yeah, kind of douchey. Yeah. So
I've heard opposite from people that are close to him, and they say like a lot of that is an act. He's very humble, but a lot of people say it's an act for the camera
smart.
to get him big.
He's
very smart.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing.
Very smart.
Well, not like, I don't know if he's educated or whatever, book smart, but he's smart in terms of like, yeah, it is an act. He's trying to maximize his earning potential by just saying outlandish things. But I don't know.
On the flip side of that, right? Pitbull looked amazing. He's at 140. He looked good. And somebody said they want to see him fight Progress. I don't want to see him fight Progress. This is who I want to see him fight. I want to see him fight going straight ahead at Matias. That's what I want to see. I'd like to see Pitbull versus Matias coming up. I think, to me, it's a making of a war, and I think that's where he should go with his next fight. What do you see for Pitbull moving forward, and who do you want to see him against? I love the Matias fight, Marco. Going straight forward. Matias is a killer. Pitbull doesn't back down from anyone. I really like the Mexico versus Puerto Rico thing. I think that could be a huge fight for Pitbull. I don't know if he wins that fight, but I think it'll be a war.
I don't like that fight for him. Okay, are you asking me as a fan, or are you asking me as like somebody who would want to make the right decision for Pitbull? Like,
Give us both.
Okay, well, as a fan, yeah, that'd be great, but it'd be great against Pitbull versus Tio. Pitbull will be great against Haney or Shakur as well, because those two dudes disengage as much as possible, box, stay on the outside. Pitbull will bring it to them, and he'll make their fights, which a lot of people believe can sometimes be lackluster, he'll make them exciting. So I would go towards the less dangerous fighter, which would probably be Shakur or Haney. Not dangerous in terms of like they could both.
He said he wouldn't fight Shakur though. He said he would not fight Shakur. Remember, Shakur wanted to fight him, and he said that Shakur would run the whole fight. He said he would not. I agree. Deal with that. Yeah.
And Shakur's not champion, so Haney or Teofimo, because they are also more highly regarded. Matias is the least regarded of all those dudes, and possibly the most dangerous.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't advise Matias first. I would advise Haney or Tio.
Man, I mean, I think Haney wouldn't be a good fight for him. Just me personally. I think Haney, size-wise, the guy walks around in the ring at 165. He's going to be bigger, taller, keep him at a distance. I just don't see it as a good fight. Teofimo may engage with him more, because Teofimo may want to try to knock him out. That's my personal opinion. But I'm with you as a safer fight. But as a mega fight with the Puerto Rico versus Mexico thing, I love Pitbull versus Matias. I just think it'll be a lot of money. I mean, it wouldn't be a belt, right? But it wouldn't be like the champion of the division. But I think that'll be a great fight. But I don't think him and Haney would be a great fight. I think Haney would just do what Haney does.
I'm not saying he could beat Haney. I just think it's the most winnable. Well, it's not even more winnable. I don't know. You don't think he'd beat Matias? I don't know. Matias has shown us that he knocks everybody out, but
well, you just said this man has never hit the canvas. Never.
I was about to go there, but Tank couldn't even hurt him. But Matias has knocked literally everybody out that he's beaten.
He's killed someone in the ring. Period.
But Matias also takes a lot more punches than Tank does, and so can Matias? I don't know. I mean, I would rather go with Teofimo because it's a possibly more winnable fight if Tio especially because we know the TO sometimes doesn't come in 100%.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I don't know.
I just think that well, I was watching an interview with Devin Haney, and he pretty much said that he's ready to unify, and of course to unify he has to fight, Tio.
Right.
So I think that's off the table. So Pitbull will have to do something next, and I don't want to see him versus Prograis. I really don't. Please God, don't make that fight happen. You know what I mean? I'd like him at 140. I'm not gonna, even though he's a small guy, I feel like he looked strong. I liked what he did. I mean, how about a Josh Taylor? Is that a possibility?
I would. Josh Taylor's almost my height. Like I'm 5'11". He's about 5'10", maybe even 5'11". He's too tall, man. Pitbull's what, 5'3" or 5'4" or something?
Pitbull's a little guy, but man, I mean, you know what's crazy? I like Pitbull simply just his style, man. He just doesn't care. He goes forward. I mean, he did it against Gervonta. He made Roelly, and listen, when Gervonta fought Roelly, he was very cautious in those early rounds. Pitbull showed him no type of respect.
Mm-hmm.
He walked him down. He wasn't worried about his power. He took a couple shots, and you kind of see Roelly's face when he took the shots, and Cruz was it took his heart away. Roelly was like, I can't hurt him. There's nothing I can do with this man. He's not even scared. He's not even concerned with my power. So I would love to see him and Matias, man. I think that would be the fight, man. If I was a matchmaker for the fans, Puerto Rico, Mexico, that's the fight that I want to see. Shout out to Pitbull, Isaac Cruz. That's what I want to see. And again, I know you're not Puerto Rican, but you know the Puerto Rico Mexico rivalry, man. They can do that in Puerto Rico. They can do that in Puerto Rico. I'd fly out to see it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But moving forward, we talked about TSYZU. Shout out to TSYZU in his last fight. I watched the interview. I forgot who it was with, and he said something that actually even Joe Goosen, that was doing the commentary as well, was like that they were using the wrong substances to stop the bleeding because he had cut like a major vein over his forehead or whatever.
Funny you say that. I'm actually one of the reasons why I got to get off with you is I'm interviewing Stitch Duran.
Oh, okay.
Right at about 2, so I'm going to talk to him about that. So
okay.
I don't really know. From what I understand, they were doing all you can do with a cut like that, which is just dump Vaseline on it. But I'm going to find out from an actual cut man if that's true.
Joe Goosen said they were using adrenaline and Vaseline. And he said, if you notice, as soon as they would do it, he wouldn't even take a shot. He would walk out of the corner and he was already gushing. As soon as he walked out.
You saw in the after fight, in the press conference, I mean, he started bleeding while he's being interviewed.
Wow.
He was like, I'm still bleeding.
I mean, but Joe Goosen and the individual saying that the corner cost TSYZU the fight. They said they could have got it stopped at, I think he said in the 5th round, there would have been like a no contest. They would have went to the judges or something like that. And they could have saved them. And now guys like Bud Crawford have come out and said they're not going to fight him. He took a loss. You got to build up. And I don't think that was fair for TSYZU because I thought, in my opinion, if TSYZU doesn't get cut, he wins the fight. He couldn't see. It was clear as day. He's losing blood like crazy. And, I've watched fights and, like Mayweather had one of the best cutmen of all time, the little Mexican guy. I always forget his name.
Me too.
I forget his name, but he's supposedly the best. That's what Mayweather hired him. And when Joe Goosen was talking, he's like, they're throwing Vaseline. They got it. He was saying some other substance to stop the bleeding, but that cost them the fight. Do you feel like Bud should be allowed to duck him, or do you think that the corner let him down? I'll answer both of those.
Wait, say that again.
So,
I'm sorry.
Do you? Let me forget the Bud part. Do you feel like his corner let him down by not getting the fight stopped in the 5th round, knowing the bleeding was so substantial?
Not the 5th round. I mean, I'm assuming.
I don't know when they can stop it and have it in no contest. I think it was the 5th or 6th. I'm not sure.
No, it's 4. You have to stop it before 4 rounds, and it's a no contest. And it was profusely bleeding in the 3rd, so it could have been stopped at any point in the 3rd or the 4th, and it would have been a no contest. People try and blame TSYZU's corner, sort of, but more so it's the ring doctor.
Okay.
Why did he not stop this fight? The technical definition of having a fight stop, the textbook reason why you stop a fight is when the blood goes in your eye and you can't see.
Yeah.
That was clearly happening. He kept wiping it. I don't understand for the life of me why the doctor didn't stop it. And all Tim Zoo's corner had to do was say, go to the ref, say he can't see. Then the ref
It was clear.
Done. But they didn't.
Yeah.
And it cost Tim Zoo his belt and his O.
Yeah, Ashley says the same thing. Said the ring doctor dropped the ball. And it sucks to me because, listen, I love Tim Zoo. And listen, the way he dealt with it after the fight, didn't make an excuse, gave him credit, and was like, let's move forward. I loved it. But
yeah.
I ended up seeing Bud Crawford come out and say, now he won't fight Tim Zoo. Saying, you got to build back up. I want this.
He was saying that to Errol Spence.
No, he said that to Tim Zoo too. Tim Zoo, he said, nah, you lost. He said, you lost the fight. You now have to build up again in order to fight.
I think he was talking about Errol Spence.
I seen a tweet about it. I'm almost 95%.
I saw the tweet too, and I'm almost positive. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'm almost positive that was his response to Errol Spence trying to get the fight coming in the ring. He was saying, nah, you lost, my man. You got to build up. And then Errol Spence responds and goes, yo, I don't do lines. I'm not waiting in line. Now, that wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. So it probably was. Well, what do you think Tim Zoo does? He get an immediate rematch? Because they said they just announced that he's the mandatory for the belt now.
Nah. I was in a live yesterday, I believe, where we were talking to Tim Zoo's promoter, Samson Brakovich, or however you pronounce his last name, and he said we have a verbal rematch agreement, but he's like, we're going to maximize our earning potential. We're going to go with Errol Spence first because Errol Spence is a way bigger money fight than Tim Zoo would be. So I don't think they're going to do that rematch.
So hold on, you're talking about Spence and
Spence and Fondora are going to fight. I might have said I was talking with Fondora's promoter, excuse me, and he said that Fondora is going to fight Errol Spence next. So Tim Zoo will not be the very next fight.
So hold on. Then what's because they're saying that Bud Crawford they said it was like 60 days or something like that to come up with the purse, or they got to do whatever.
Bud Crawford was Fondora was forced to fight Bud Crawford by the WBO, maybe. I'm not sure which one.
I think it was WBO. So how does that pan out? How does that happen? If he's forced to fight him and they got Errol Spence, how does that work out?
I'm not sure how, I don't pay attention much or get involved much with like kind of stuff that doesn't involve the fight itself. Yeah. So my knowledge is limited, but I think they have to start negotiating. That's what it forces you to do. And, just negotiations have to start. And if they don't, then maybe somebody gets stripped. But if they negotiate and it falls through or something happens, I don't know.
So basically, he's either going to fight Zooo or he's going to fight he's going to fight Errol Spence or Bud Crawford, pretty much.
Fondora? Yeah. Probably.
I wish they would have just given him an automatic rematch because I think Tim Zoo deserves it. I think Tim Zoo, even with the cut, he was fighting, man. He was landing some shots, couldn't see for nothing. And honestly, to start off, that was Amazon's first event, right? If I'm not mistaken.
What's that?
That was Amazon's first event, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes.
That event was insane. I loved it. They had the earlier fights. I thought the night was dope. The two main fights to me lived up to it, Yeah. I want to see a rematch, man. I mean, and I hope they don't take that away from Tim Zoo because I think Zoo is a dog, man. I love Tim Zoo. What do you think about Zoo? What do you think Tim Zoo should do at this point?
This really didn't take away a lot of the steam for Tim Zoo because he doesn't have a belt, so that takes away that negotiating power that he had. But other than that, I mean, most people thought the fight was really close. Some people might have even thought Tim Zoo won, but I think
one of the judges had him winning.
Right, but I think most people agree that if it wasn't for the cut,
he would have won.
Probably. Yeah. So Tim Zoo is still pretty powerful in terms of, his negotiating himself as a negotiating chip. Like he's still a pretty powerful chip. Yeah. So he could fight any of those guys. But the problem is the belt. So now he doesn't have a belt. He might have to wait because I don't see Bud Crawford fighting him now since he doesn't have the belt.
Well, 154 is stacked. 154 is a good division. With Charlo.
Who should come into 154 and just shake
Boots,
everything?
Boots. I know you're gonna say it. Boots. I was thinking it too. Boots. You got Danny Garcia.
The dude's like 5'11". He's 25. You know he's not going to stay as 47. Move up. All the great fighters are at 154 now. There's literally nobody in his weight class. He already won a belt there. I mean, move up.
I'm not gonna lie. If Boots comes to 154 with Charlo, Garcia, Bud, Spence, Zooo, that's. I mean, that's the deepest division. I mean, is there a deeper division, Marco?
Light, maybe the 135, 140 pounders, or 140 pounder maybe, but no, probably not.
Man, I would love to see Boots do. What do you think stops Boots from actually doing it though? Maybe he wants to unify 147 before he does it. What do you think?
I don't know. It might be that. I mean, it might be that. We don't know. Yeah, some fighters would care about that. They'd rather like, oh, let me get these belts. Let me unify. Let me undispute. Some fighters are like, no, I want to build a legacy. Let me go and fight the guys' names who will build my legacy.
What's the other guy's name? There's another fighter we're missing, the Mexican dude. Oh, he went up to 154.
Virgil Ortiz. Yeah, Virgil Ortiz. Undefeated, all knockouts. All knockouts.
Can we get Virgil Ortiz, Tim Tszyu? Can we get that? Boots Ennis versus Tim Tszyu?
The only reason why Virgil and Tim Tszyu might not happen is because neither of them have belts. So they're not going to fight each other. I don't think. But they could. That'd be a crazy fight.
Boots. Oh man, if Boots goes if they go up to 154, man, that's the money. It has to be the. I mean, there's a lot of options.
I want to sneak into Boots' house and drop a couple weights in his sneakers. So when he gets on the scale, he's 154. He has no choice. He's like, all right, I gotta fight.
I mean, he may have no choice either because he's been chasing the Bud fight for the longest. Bud's not responding. Maybe you just follow him to 154 and just start going to town on people. How do you think Boots matches up at 154 though? With these guys, with these heavy hitters?
Boots to me is he gets an A++ with extra credit on the eyeball test, but we haven't seen him defeat elite fighters yet. So I'm very big on you got to show and prove. Potential can only get you so far. At some point though, you got to show and prove.
I love Boots. I think Boots fights. He has a great jab, great power, walks you down. I mean, he had that one fight recently that was kind of boring, but the guy pretty much ran the whole fight. Man, I definitely want to see it, man. I mean, if that happens, 154 is that division. I'd love to see Zooo versus him. I mean, somebody's got to get that belt. I mean, I don't believe, and I cannot say this guy's name for the life of me, Fernando, whatever. I don't think he holds on to the belt much longer, to be honest. The guy that beat Zooo, I always forget his name. I always mess it up. And I'm Spanish. Do you hear me? I hear another voice in the background.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, I was getting some feedback. Say it again.
The guy that beat Zooo. What the hell's his name? I always forget.
The guy that beat Zooo? Oh, Fandora?
Fandora, yes. Why do I keep messing up his name? Fandora. I don't think he holds on to that belt much longer, to be honest.
If he I had picked Fandora at first to beat Zooo, right?
Really?
At first, I think he might. I'm like, he might upset him. But then I did a little more research. Fandora is always in the phone booth. He's always banging close. Never uses his height. Mm-hmm. And Tim Tszyu, it turns out that he's a good boxer. He's smart. He places his punches.
Very
he's not just not a flat-footed brawler. So then I switch. I'm like, no, okay, I think I got Zooo beating him. So I picked Zooo. But then Fandora, and technically Zooo might have should have won, but Fandora did something we never seen.
No, 6'6".
He was boxing.
Crazy. Yeah.
He was boxing from the outside. So if he boxes from the outside, it'll be difficult for anybody at his weight to beat him. I'm not saying they can't, but it'll be difficult because he's so big.
No, it reminds me of when I think it was Paul Williams, was it? When he was fighting at 135 or 140, whatever it was. He was about 6'2".
He was 47 he was about 6'2", 6'3". 47 or 50, I think he fought at. 47 or 54, I mean.
I think it was 47. I think it was 47, but he was about 6'3", but he's a big guy. But you're right. He doesn't use his size as an advantage. He really doesn't.
No.
He kind of brings himself down to these guys' size, which is kind of weird.
Paul
Doesn't really
Williams
fight behind
used
the
his
jab.
size.
Yeah, he did. He did. That's what I'm saying. Like he did. He would fight behind the jab. He would be very active. He'd throw a lot of punches.
Okay, so Paul was 6'1", and he fought at 54. I was right.
It was 54? I
whole-
thought it was 47. Okay.
Nah, 54. He had a couple fights. Let me see. No, none of them at 47.
Really?
All at 54. Yeah. And
Oh,
one of them was at middleweight at 160, but the rest were 54. Yep.
My man Josh says, Ashley says, I honestly think they didn't stop it because it was a prime life fight. They wanted the momentum.
No,
was a good
I
fight.
mean that's another thing too. Like, it's their inaugural broadcast. There's so much put into it. There's probably a lot of anticipation. That they went through all the ups and downs with Thurman pulling out and all that. But that's still, if Amazon could stop it, that's one thing. But they don't have the power. It's TSYZU or the doctor. Maybe they told the doctor don't do it. I don't know.
You know what's crazy? I think this kind of turned out better than if Thurman would have fought. I think Thurman would have ran a lot more. You know what I mean? But I think this fight, just aesthetically, you know, if you think boxing, you think your warriors, blood's all over the place. I feel like this kind of was the best situation. I think it happened for a reason for Amazon in a sense. Like, it just aesthetically, if you think boxing, you want to see warriors, you want to see blood. And I think Thurman's fight would have not been like that. I think it would have probably ended up in either a boring decision or Zooo knocking him out. But I think this fight, the way it played out, even though TSYZU lost as the genesis of what Amazon's about to do, right? I feel like it kind of worked out and it got people really excited for what Amazon got to play. And I know Amazon has 12, they have, I think, 14 events they're going to throw this year. I think 12 of them are free, right? That's what they were saying. So there's a lot to play. And then I don't know if they land a Canelo fight versus Benavidez. That's a possibility as well. So Amazon is hitting the ground running at this point. And I love what they're doing, but I think aesthetically, I think the TSYZU fight just versus I'm not even gonna say his name, was great. But I know Marco, Marco, this is my guy right here. I know you got to go do that interview, and I'm definitely gonna be tuned in for that. You know what I mean? Oh, he just got off. But yeah, I mean, guys, Amazon hit the ground running. Somebody saying Roelly is trash. Listen, guys, I'm gonna say this about Roelly because I really like Roelly, right? I don't think Roelly didn't earn my respect as a fighter. I mean, no, let me not say that. Roelly didn't get my attention because he was a great fighter, okay? Roelly got my attention because he was a great promoter. And as far as he got to where he got to, you got to give him credit. Because Roelly isn't necessarily the most skilled. I think he started late. I don't think he had much of an amateur career. But you got to give Roelly a lot of credit for where he took this. So, I mean, I respect him. I just don't see him going any much further. I wouldn't be surprised if he fights one more fight then retires. I just can't see him selling another fight at this point. As badly as Roelly lost that fight, as dominated as Roelly was in that fight, I just don't believe that Roelly can bounce back from this. It was just it wasn't even slightly competitive. It was nowhere near that. Josh, there was not a rematch clause. There was not a rematch clause. This wasn't even the original fight negotiated in this. But from what I'm hearing, they did agree in principle, verbally, to run it back. And I don't know why I can't say this. I always forget this guy's name. But I believe he's going to give TSYZU that run back again. I do believe he fights Errol Spence. I don't know how that's going to turn out, but I think it'll be after the Errol Spence fight. He's going to go get that bag, and then he's going to get paid to do the rematch versus TSYZU. But this is not the last that we heard of TSYZU. 154 is super stacked. Again, you've seen Danny Garcia said he's going to be back. Who's to know that my man Boots Ennis won't jump to 154? You still got Charlo there. I mean, you got Virgil Ortiz. There is this 154-pound division is absolutely deep. You know what I mean? So you got Bud Crawford. I mean, I would like to see it. TSYZU versus Bud Crawford. I mean, that's a big fight. Listen, I'll tell you this right now. That's a tough fight. If Bud were to take that fight at 154, in my opinion, it's as dangerous as him fighting against Boots, to be honest. So to me, I'm taking either of those fights and whoever's the bigger check, but I think more people would want to see Boots. But if he does fight Tim Tszyu is a very cerebral fighter, very smart, got the heart of a champion, was a champion. I would love to see that fight, but 154 pounds, guys, is absolutely stacked at this point. Stacked. You know what I mean? So whoever has that belt, be prepared to fight some very, very good fighters. Great fighters at that. Again, like I said, Danny Garcia said he's mentally prepared to go back to 154. To fight again. So we got some things cooking at 154. On that note, I'll be back tomorrow around the same time, about 12:30, and we're going to get it rocking. It's your boy Norris. This is a 10-8 podcast. Let's get it. Shout out to everybody that tuned in. Shout out to Ash. Ash, you need to come on, girl. You know your boxing, baby. I'm just telling you. It's my guy. Yo, Josh, what up? Josh, hit me, man. We got to talk. We out of here.